I would want to ask one of the questions as we engage this time, and that is, what is the motivation for spirituality? For you, and then also just for everybody in the wider culture. I would suggest that we often begin to think about expanding our spiritual capacity because we want to feel better in some way. We want a peace that we don't feel that we have, or we're looking for some wisdom in a particular situation. We might want to draw closer to God. We want to experience something we feel is lacking in our lives. And those are all very fine reasons, actually, to want to explore one's spiritual capacity. One of the things for us in our Western culture that is a reality for us now is that spirituality has become segregated from religion. This is the first time in history that that's actually the case. Spirituality in the West has its roots in Christianity, and they've never been known as separate until this time. We now live in a culture where we hear a general consensus that spirituality is good and that religion is bad. But in fact, they are together. They go together. And eventually we'll come to a place where we're talking about that, how they're integrated in our Christian life and faith, and how that can work more effectively for us, and we can understand more deeply our beliefs. But at its very heart, spirituality has something to do with the spirit and something to do with the soul. That crosses all kinds of religions and cultures, and in fact, the pursuit or the desire to expand one's spiritual capacity doesn't even require belief in God. And so we want to stay open to that, I would suppose, for ourselves, not to put a lot of pressure on us about particular religious beliefs as we explore spirituality, just to start, but also as we converse with other people about their spiritual life, because it may have a very different framing, a very different way of looking at God, or leaving a concept of God out altogether. I want to start with just two quick words. Actually, it'll be the total of this last section of time, but spirit and soul are words that in our culture we now use quite interchangeably. In our Hebrew roots, it's sort of interesting because we think about soul as stuff we can't see, the intangible spiritual things of life. But actually, the better translation out of the Hebrew, when we think about all the uses of the word soul in the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible text, it's actually all the things you can see. So the word they use for soul translates as corpse or body, and other things that reflect what we can see. The word that gets translated for heart is actually the things we can't see. So when the commandment or the way of life is taught that we love God with our heart and our soul, what's being instructed there is that we love God with all the things about us that we can see and all the things we can't see. So with our whole being. Those words are levav and nefesh, and they have a wide use in the text. We know they're real, like light and energy. You can't see them and you can't always quantify them, but they're there and they matter to us. And for me, soul is the eternal part of ourself that connects with eternal life. As Christians, we don't believe in an afterlife. We don't believe we're going to get something we don't already have, but rather an eternal life which has no beginning and no end, and that through Christ we are given the abundance and the gifts of eternal life. And that there's some eternal part of ourselves. So we believe that when we die, there is something that lives on. It may be a mystery, but we hold in faith that possible truth and mystery. So our soul is eternal, and it connects with the eternal. I would say the spirit is what we have been given by God, a kind of ability to have a synergism between the heart and the mind and the body and the soul that helps us to discern and to expand our spiritual capacity, to live in more spiritual ways, to be able to see the unseen and develop our ability to have it be effective in our lives, to receive, say, love or grace or peace or joy from God, and then to share it out into the world with other people. Likewise, it helps us to connect and keep our soul grounded in the blessings and the beauty of eternal life with God.